I never thought lying about my age would lead me straight into the most complicated mess of my life. 2 years ago, at 17, I was drowning in my parents' bitter divorce. To escape the constant fighting and moving between houses, I created a fake profile on a popular gaming app and slipped into the online world. There, I met him, Kai Lennox. He was 23, confident, sharp-tongued, and strangely addictive. In public, people described Kai as cold, unapproachable, and intimidating, the heir to a powerful tech and real estate empire in the coastal city of Silver Haven. But online, he was shamelessly clingy, teasing, and intensely affectionate. He called me Little Storm, sent voice messages that made my heart race, and once even joked about wanting to be my loyal guard dog. I lied and told him I was 21, freshly graduated from college. I never sent photos. I never video called. Our relationship existed only through late-night texts, voice chats limited to 30 minutes, and the occasional game session. It felt safe. Harmless. Until it wasn't. His possessiveness grew stronger. He started asking to meet in person. When my final high school exams were only weeks away and the weight of my lies became too heavy, I panicked. I sent him one cold message: "This isn't working anymore. I'm bored. Let's end it." Then I blocked him on every platform and deleted the account. I told myself it was for the best. 6 months later, I was crashing at my best friend's luxurious family villa in the hills of Silver Haven while my parents finalized their divorce settlement. My best friend, Lila, had insisted I stay with her during this chaotic period. The first night I arrived, I was exhausted. Lila dragged me into the grand living room, laughing about how her family's house was basically a resort. As we entered, a tall figure was descending the wide marble staircase. He wore a black silk shirt, sleeves rolled up, revealing toned forearms. His dark hair was slightly messy, and his sharp jawline and piercing gray eyes gave him an effortlessly aristocratic, almost dangerous aura. For a split second, something like recognition hit me, but I pushed it away. Lila noticed me staring and groaned. "Don't even think about it, Nova. My brother is off limits. He's been in the worst mood for months ever since some girl ghosted him online. He practically hates the entire female population right now." My stomach dropped. I tried to sound casual. "What's your brother's name again?" Lila raised an eyebrow. "Kai." "Why?" The floor felt like it was tilting beneath me. Kai Lennox, the same Kai I had dated online and brutally ghosted, was my best friend's older brother. I froze, cold sweat breaking out on my back. Of all the people in this massive city, how did I end up under the same roof as the one person I hoped would never find out the truth? Before I could spiral further, Lila waved her hand dismissively. "Relax. You probably heard me mention him before. We basically share a brain. Come on, let's get you settled." That night, I barely slept. Every memory of our late-night conversations flooded back. The way he called me Little Storm, how he once said he'd wait years for me, how vulnerable he sounded when he admitted he didn't open up to people easily. And now I was living in his house. The next morning at breakfast, the tension hit me like a wave. Kai was already seated at the long dining table, reading something on his tablet with a perfectly indifferent expression. He looked every bit the wealthy, untouchable heir, cold, composed, and devastatingly handsome. When his eyes lifted and met mine, there was no spark of recognition. Just polite detachment. Lila's mother, Mrs. Eleanor Voss, smiled warmly at me. "You must be Nova. Lila has told us so much about you. Please, make yourself at home while you're here." I forced a smile and thanked her, trying my best to act normal. But I could feel Kai's gaze occasionally drift toward me, cool and assessing, like he was trying to solve a puzzle he didn't know existed yet. As breakfast continued, Mrs. Voss mentioned that she had recently tried setting Kai up with a girl from another influential family. His response was clipped and emotionless. "I'm not interested, Mother." Lila snorted beside me. "He's still recovering from that online heartbreak. The girl must have been special, he's been unbearable since she disappeared. I nearly choked on my orange juice. Kai's eyes flicked to me for a fraction of a second. Something unreadable passed through them before he looked away again. I spent the rest of the morning convincing myself that there was no way he could connect the dots. I had been careful. No photos. No real name. No traces left behind. Or so I thought. The next few days were pure torture. I tried my best to avoid Kai, but in a sprawling modern villa overlooking the ocean, that proved nearly impossible. Every morning at breakfast, he sat across from me like a silent storm, calm on the surface, but with an intensity that made my skin prickle. Lila, completely oblivious, kept complaining about her brother's foul mood. He used to be a little warmer, you know? But after that online girl dumped him, he turned into an ice sculpture. I swear he'd glare at a puppy if it looked at him too long. I forced a laugh and stayed quiet, my heart hammering every time Kai's gray eyes lingered on me a second too long. One afternoon, Mrs. Voss asked me to do her a small favor. Kai had left important documents at home before rushing to his downtown office. Since I was already heading into the city for a study session at the university library, I offered to drop them off. Big mistake. The Lennox Tower dominated the Silverhaven skyline, a sleek glass structure that screamed power and wealth. When I arrived at the top floor, the receptionist led me toward Kai's private office. My hands were sweating as I clutched the folder. The moment the elevator doors opened, I saw him. Kai stood near the floor-to-ceiling windows, speaking with a group of executives. He looked every inch the ruthless CEO, sharp suit, commanding presence, zero warmth. When his eyes landed on me, something shifted in his expression. Just for a split second. He excused himself from the meeting and walked over. "Miss Reed," he said smoothly, using my last name. "I wasn't expecting you." I handed him the folder quickly. "Your mother asked me to bring these. I should go." His fingers brushed mine as he took the documents. The contact sent an unwelcome spark up my arm. "Wait," he said, his voice dropping lower. "Come into my office for a moment." I wanted to run. Instead, I followed him. Inside his massive corner office, Kai closed the door and turned to face me. The air felt thinner. "Do you have your phone?" he asked. I blinked. "Why?" "I'd like to reimburse you for the trip. Venmo or bank transfer, your choice." "That's really not necessary." "I don't like owing people," he cut in, his tone leaving no room for argument. He pulled out his phone. "Show me your QR code." My stomach twisted. Something about his insistence felt too deliberate. Still, refusing would look suspicious. I opened the app with trembling fingers and showed him the code. Kai scanned it. For 3 long seconds, nothing happened. Then his entire body went unnaturally still. His thumb hovered over the screen. When he finally looked up at me, his gray eyes had darkened with something dangerous, recognition mixed with disbelief. "Funny," he said softly. My blood ran cold. "What is?" I once knew someone who returned money just as quickly. The room spun. I tried to keep my face neutral, but I knew I was failing miserably. Kai took a slow step closer. "Nova Reed, or should I say, Little Storm?" The old nickname hit me like a physical blow. I backed up until I hit the edge of his desk. "I don't know what you're talking about," I whispered. His laugh was low and humorless. "You really thought I wouldn't recognize the way you returned transfers in under 10 seconds? Or that rigid 30-minute voice call rule?" I was caught. Kai's expression was unreadable, a dangerous mix of anger, pain, and something deeper. 6 months. You disappeared without a trace. And now you're living in my house, pretending you don't know me. I was 17, I stammered. I lied about my age. I was scared. My parents were divorcing, I was a mess, and when you wanted to meet in person, I panicked. I thought blocking you was the only way out. He stared at me for a long moment. The silence was heavier than any words. You made me mourn someone who never even existed, he said finally, his voice rough. And now you're here, under my roof, acting like none of it happened. I couldn't breathe. Before either of us could say more, his assistant knocked, reminding him of a meeting. Kai's CEO mask slipped back into place instantly. We're not done talking, Nova, he said quietly as I rushed toward the door. Not even close. I fled the building like it was on fire. When I got back to the villa, Lila was lounging on the couch with a cold drink. She took one look at my face and laughed. You look like you just robbed a bank. What happened? I forced a weak smile. Nothing. Just traffic. That night, dinner was unbearable. Kai watched me across the table with quiet intensity. Every time our eyes met, my pulse spiked. Lila, bless her oblivious heart, kept the conversation light. But I could feel the storm brewing. Later that evening, while I was trying to study in the garden, Kai found me. He didn't yell. He didn't accuse. He simply stood there, hands in his pockets, looking at me like I was both a ghost and a wound that refused to heal. We need to talk, little storm, he said softly. And for the first time in 6 months, I didn't run. The silence shattered as Professor Thorne lunged for my phone. What do you think you're doing? This is a university matter. I stepped back smoothly, continuing the call. Yes, Student Affairs Office at Ravenwood University. My son is being falsely accused of assault. I have reason to believe this is an extortion scheme. Please send officers immediately. I hung up. Thorne's face had gone from red to ghostly white. Mrs. Boss, you're blowing this out of proportion. Dirty laundry should stay within the family. You'll destroy the university's reputation. Victor looked like he was having a stroke. He clutched his head, screaming, Ilara, if you ruin us, I swear. He whirled toward Damien, fist raised. You worthless boy. I'll kill you myself before you drag this family down. I grabbed the heavy ceramic thermos from the desk and smashed it at Victor's feet. Scalding tea splashed across the floor. Touch my son again and see what happens. The 2 campus security officers and police arrived within minutes, accompanied by a stern administrator in a gray suit. The chaotic room froze. Thorne tried to regain control. Officers, this is an internal university disciplinary issue. We were handling it appropriately. I smiled coldly. Attempted assault and potential extortion stopped being internal the moment false accusations were made. One officer surveyed the scene. Myra's torn clothes, Damien's slapped cheek, the spilled tea, and Thorne's panicked expression. Everyone stay where you are. Who made the call? I stepped forward and gave a clear, chronological account. Mira claimed the incident happened at 2:15 p.m. in the North Library emergency stairwell. However, Damien had been with me at the hotel since 12:30 p.m., check-in records, elevator footage, key card logs, and cafe payment at 1:50 p.m. all confirmed it. Myra's crying hitched. And maybe the time was wrong. I was scared. The lead officer raised an eyebrow. You remembered his exact clothing but not the time? And how did you know the stairwell camera was broken on your first day? Myra's eyes darted toward Thorne for a split second. I heard students talking. Thorne interjected quickly. I inform all new students about safety blind spots. Really? I asked. You specifically warn every freshman about one broken camera near the library? The officers took Thorne aside for questioning. Meanwhile, they bagged Myra's blouse as evidence and requested to inspect her suitcase, which was still sitting untouched in the dorm lobby. Mira panicked visibly. That's my private property. You can't. You made a serious criminal accusation, the officer replied firmly. Evidence must be preserved. That evening, with police present, the suitcase was opened. Inside, clothes, basic toiletries, and a hidden compartment containing a spare blouse with a carefully cut collar, a small pair of scissors, theatrical makeup in bruised tones, a campus map with the exact stairwell circled, and printed documents highlighting Damien's scholarship, physics achievements, and freshman speech slot. Mira collapsed. I don't know how any of that got there. No one believed her. By midnight, text messages between Mira and an unknown number surfaced through the investigation. She had inquired about the top-scoring physics student weeks before enrollment. Thorne's number appeared in the thread with carefully worded suggestions about internal resolutions, protecting disadvantaged voices, and transferring opportunities to repair harm. The pieces fit together perfectly. Ravenwood University moved quickly once the police evidence mounted. Professor Elias Thorne was suspended before sunrise. Mira Langford's enrollment was frozen pending full investigation. Damien's scholarship and freshman representative position remained untouched. The university promised a public statement once the initial police findings were confirmed. But the online rumors had already started. By morning, screenshots and twisted narratives flooded campus groups. Top physics genius assaults poor freshman, rich mother bullies victim, Ravenwood protects its golden boys. Damien sat in the hotel room, staring at his phone, his face ashen. Mom. What if they never believe me? I took the phone from his hands gently. They will. Because this time evidence speaks louder than tears. In my previous life, I had begged administrators, deleted comments, and cried until my voice gave out. Truth had stayed buried. This time, I had dragged it into the light. Victor called over a dozen times that morning. I answered only once. Elara, I was wrong. Let me come. We need to show a united front. I'm his father. You remembered you were his father only after the police confirmed his alibi, I said coldly. Don't call again. I hung up. The freshman orientation ceremony was packed. Students, parents, faculty, livestream cameras, everyone was there. Mira sat in the third row among the freshmen, wearing a pale sweater, her face arranged in perfect victimhood. Some students still glanced at her with pity. Then Damien walked in beside me. The room shifted. Phones rose. Myra's eyes widened. She had expected shame to keep him away. The dean, looking 10 years older, stepped onto the stage before the main program. Before we proceed, Ravenwood University must address false information circulated about an incoming student. Whispers erupted. The dean raised his hand. We will present corrections based on law enforcement and internal review. A criminal investigation is ongoing. We ask everyone to refrain from harassment. The recording from my phone began playing through the auditorium speakers. Thorne's voice filled the hall. Damien will issue a public apology, forfeit all honors and scholarships, and accept a formal disciplinary mark. Then Victor's voice followed, apologize right now. Kneel if you have to. Give her the scholarship. Damien flinched beside me. I squeezed his hand once. He straightened his shoulders. The large screen behind the dean displayed the timeline. Hotel check-in footage, key card logs, elevator video showing Damien with me at the exact time of the alleged incident. Next slide showed Myra's contradictory statements, the campus map from her suitcase, the cut blouse, and the hidden makeup. Mira shot to her feet. This is private. You can't show my things. A parent nearby whispered loudly, she tried to destroy a boy's life. The dean continued, voice tight. Mira Langford has been removed from scholarship consideration and suspended from all enrollment activities. Professor Thorne has been suspended pending further investigation. Mira burst into tears. I didn't have a choice. I had nothing. He already had everything. I stood up. The entire auditorium turned toward me. Poverty explains hardship, I said clearly, my voice carrying. It does not excuse destroying an innocent person's future. The silence that followed was absolute. Two officers approached Mira quietly. The days following the disastrous dinner brought a strange new calm to the Voss villa. Serena Caldwell disappeared from social circles almost overnight. Her family issued a vague public statement about misunderstandings, but the damage to their reputation was done. Kai's legal team quietly handled the privacy violations, ensuring no further leaks would surface. Lila, however, was another story. After the initial shock wore off, she dragged me into her room for what she called the official best friend interrogation. "You dated my brother online," she exclaimed, pacing back and forth. "4 months? And you never told me? I thought we told each other everything." "I know," I said miserably, sitting cross-legged on her bed. I was ashamed. I lied to him about my age. I ghosted him. I didn't think I'd ever have to face it. Lila stopped pacing and stared at me. Then, to my surprise, she burst out laughing. "This is insane. My best friend and my emotionally constipated brother had a secret online romance. This sounds like a bad drama series." "You're not mad?" I asked cautiously. "Oh, I'm furious," she said, but her grin betrayed her. "But mostly at the universe for making this so ridiculous. And a little at you for not trusting me. But I get it. You were scared." She flopped down beside me. "So, do you still like him?" I hesitated, then nodded. "Yeah. I do." Lila groaned dramatically. "Great. Now I have to watch my best friend and my brother make hard eyes at each other. I'm going to need therapy. Or at least extra dessert every night." Mrs. Voss was more understanding than I expected. She sat me down the next morning and spoke gently but honestly. "Lying was wrong," she said. "But I've read the old records Kai showed me. You never took advantage of him. You were young and frightened. What matters now is how you move forward." She smiled softly. "And if you hurt my son again, I expect you to do it at the dinner table so I can watch." I laughed despite myself. Kai and I started talking more openly. Late-night conversations on the terrace. Quiet moments in the library where he'd read over my shoulder and teased me about my study habits. He was still the same intense, possessive man I remembered from online. But now it was real, tangible, and infinitely more terrifying. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the ocean in gold and rose, Kai found me sitting by the infinity pool. "No running this time?" he asked, sitting close enough that our shoulders brushed. "No running," I promised. He took my hand, tracing small circles on my palm. "I want the real you, Nova. The messy, complicated, brave version. Not the carefully edited online one." "I want that too," I whispered. "The cold CEO and the secret soft guy who once said he'd be my guard dog." He chuckled, a rare warm sound. "I can still be your guard dog. If you'll have me." Our first real kiss happened there, slow, careful, and full of everything we had held back for so long. No screens between us. No lies. Just us. Of course, Lila ruined the moment by yelling from the balcony above, "If you two are kissing, I demand emotional compensation and free ice cream for life." Kai groaned against my lips. "I'm going to ship her off to boarding school." "You love her," I laughed. "I tolerate her," he corrected, but his smile gave him away. The final piece fell into place a week later. I had one last conversation with my parents about the divorce and my living situation. When I returned to the villa, Kai was waiting for me in the garden with a small wrapped box. Inside was a delicate silver necklace with a tiny storm cloud charm. "So you remember where you belong now," he said softly. "With me. With us." I hugged him tightly, feeling the last of my fears melt away. Lila watched from the doorway, pretending to gag but smiling. Mrs. Voss simply looked pleased, as if she had known this outcome all along. For the first time in years, I didn't feel like I was hiding. I was exactly where I was meant to be. The weeks that followed felt like a beautiful dream I was afraid to wake up from. Life at the Voss Villa settled into a new, warmer rhythm. Kai was still the cool, commanding CEO the outside world saw, but at home he was different, softer, more playful, and openly affectionate in ways that made Lila dramatically pretend to vomit every time she caught us. "You two are disgusting," she declared one morning while Kai casually pressed a kiss to my temple as he poured me coffee. "I regret everything. I should have never let you stay here, Nova." Mrs. Voss simply smiled into her tea. "Let them be, darling." It's nice to see Kai smile again. Kai had slowly begun sharing more about his life, the pressure of being the Lennox heir, the loneliness that came with people always wanting something from him, and how our online conversations had been a rare bright spot in his rigid world. "I meant it when I said I'd wait for you," he told me one quiet evening as we walked along the private beach below the villa. "Even when I was angry. Even when I thought you were gone forever." I squeezed his hand. "I'm not going anywhere this time." Of course, not everything was perfect. Serena Caldwell tried one last desperate attempt at revenge by posting vague, shady comments online. But Kai's team handled it swiftly, and the internet, ever fickle, turned on her instead. Memes about rich girls hiring investigators and losing everything circulated for a while before fading. Lila eventually forgave me completely. We had a long, honest conversation one rainy afternoon, sitting on the floor of her room like old times. "I wish you had trusted me," she said. "I know. I was scared you'd hate me." She rolled her eyes. "You're my best friend. Even if you dated my brother and caused family drama, I've got your back. But if he hurts you, I'm leaking his old sappy voice messages." Kai, who had been eavesdropping from the hallway, walked in looking genuinely alarmed. "You wouldn't." Lila grinned evilly. "Try me, big brother." The three of us ended up laughing until we cried. As summer turned to early autumn, I prepared to return to university full-time. Kai drove me to campus on my moving day, helping carry boxes up to my new apartment. Before he left, he pulled me close in the doorway. "Text me when you get settled," he said, brushing a strand of hair from my face. "And tomorrow. And the day after that." I smiled. "I will. No more disappearing." He kissed me softly, a promise, not a goodbye. "Good girl," he murmured, echoing one of his old teasing lines. I laughed and shoved him playfully. "Don't start." As his car disappeared down the street, I felt a deep sense of peace. The girl who once hid behind a screen had finally stepped into the light. The cold, distant air had learned to open his heart again. Months later, during winter break, I returned to the Voss Villa. The house was decorated beautifully for the holidays. Kai met me at the door, pulling me into a tight embrace before I could even set my bag down. Lila groaned from the living room. "They're at it again." Mrs. Voss called out warmly, "Dinner in 20 minutes, you too." And Kai, no more secret online nicknames at the table. Kai chuckled against my hair. "Too late, Mom." That night, surrounded by the people who had become my real family, I realized something important. Sometimes the best stories don't start perfectly. They start with lies, fear, and second chances. They start with a girl who ran away and a boy who refused to let her go. And they end with two people choosing to stay, honestly, messily, and completely.